Not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
You're tuned to the PSA Radio at radio.psatt.org, where we continue to keep you informed and entertained. I'm Karyn, radio host, keeping you company until 1 o'clock today, and then I'll leave you in the very capable hands of Dr. Mike, who will be here from 1 until 7 p.m. We've got some very special guests with us right now at PSA Radio, live and direct. And you know that you can go to ustream.tv and type in PSA Radio, and you can see us live here at the headquarters on 89 Abercrombie Street, Port of Spain, Trinidad. With us, we've got employees of the Presbyterian Primary School. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow each person to introduce himself, herself to our audience. So our audience is aware of who's with us and going to share their story with us, with the audience, and make everyone aware of some of the issues, ongoing issues within their organization. And so PSA Radio is proud to have a voice, a facility for union members to air their grievances live on the air. Okay, so to my left, the very first person who is going to speak, his name is Melvin Hussein. So, Mr. Hussein, I'll allow you to go ahead and have the floor. Introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and just a little bit of what one or two or more of the issues that you'd like to discuss today.
Okay, my name is Melvin Hussein. I employ at Presbyterian School. I am the chairman of the executive committee of the PSA. And one of the issues I want to deal with this morning is salary, because for the past 2 months, we haven't received any salary up to this date. And it's a very hard time right now for us. And we're hoping that it will resolve in a very short time. And we're asking for assistance on solving this issue. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. And to Mr. Hussein's left, we've got Carol Punwasi. So if you could introduce yourself, basically what Mr. Hussein did, you can follow suit.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Karyn Punwasi. I am a cleaner at the Balmain Presbyterian School. I'm also the secretary to Mr. Hussein, the chairperson of the Presbyterian Fellowship for the cleaners. And some of the issues we have is the sick leave and casual leave, which is an issue with the Presbyterian board that only of recent times we have, from the past year, we have required 7 days sick leave and 7 days casual. But the principals have a hard time and us taking the time off. So our issues could be that today.
Thank you for sharing, Ms. Punwasi. And to your left, we've got Mr. Kenneth Ramai. Yes? You have the floor.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenneth Ramai. I'm employed at the Warren Presbyterian School. Some of the issues that we will be addressing today are the inadequate equipment that we have in schools for cleaning. We would like to address those issues today because the Ministry of Education sends inadequate amounts of cleaning material, and they expect that we would keep our schools very clean.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Mr. Ramai. And to Mr. Ramai's left is Rudolph Behari. You can introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. This afternoon, what I would like to say. My name is Rudolph Behari, and I work at Bamboo Presbyterian School. And I would like to address plenty of little things we could be much better in a compound that you personally work, that the individual that you work with could be more relaxed at times, because usually most of the time when you reach the work, there's always a problem, because if you ask for something, they say it don't have, and they want the job done the best of way. Like one of the matter is lawn cutting. They want to cut the lawn at the compound that they work on, but they have no lawnmower, no worker, no gas, no oil, no boots, no safety equipment. But it must be cut and prepared at all time. Acknowledging the boss at the school, which is the principal, when dealing with him directly, he said he don't want to hear nothing from you. Speak to a senior teacher and he will bring the message to him. Now we have a manager for the school which we could take our complaint, and the board said, the Presbyterian board said to the principal, which the principal said to we, that the manager have no say. So we don't really know who to really turn to. If to turn to the manager, if to turn to the Presbyterian board, or if to turn to the principal. Because the principal is our supervisor. So if we supervisor not listening to us and acknowledging we to what problems we want to address, and we cannot speak to the manager, I would like to know what is the meaning of the manager. It's just nothing we can do. Just live this life under poverty, and most temptation that we get usually when we go to work is feeling like if we are nothing. Because in our school, which I Rudolph Bihari work at the present time, now we have addressed that, we get addressed that we are nothing, cleaners are nothing. And this
You actually
is
told that?
yes, and I will love the people of this nation, Trinidad and Tobago, to understand what the high authorities in some schools, where the lower class ones, which is janitors, as myself, could be going through at this time.
And Mr. Bihari, thank you very much for sharing. We'll go back now to Mr. Melvin Hossain. There are two other persons who are in the room, but they will have an opportunity to speak at some point. So, Mr. Hossain, if you could share with us the most serious issue that the Presbyterian primary school is, or what you all are experiencing at this time. Share with the audience, please.
Okay, the most serious thing right now is salary, because receiving salary for 2 months is very hard. Well, our salary is very small, yes, but we have to pay loans. Loans, and I say loans is more than one bank. We have to buy goods. We have to maintain our vehicle, and we have to travel or reach to our workplace at some means. And without our salary, you're talking about is like, I will say something like they put us like in slavery, because they want the work done and they're not giving us no salary. And we know for a fact that the Presbyterian board, they could help us in some way at least, because the other board school, as far as we understand, at least they get 1 month's salary. But the Presbyterian board, they're saying they don't have and they don't have. And I think some way down the line they could assist us somewhere. And the most important thing right now is salary, because how would we go on like this? And in a couple of days' time, well, let's say in 2 days' time, this month going to done and a new month going to start again, and we don't know where we stand. So right now, the most serious thing right now is our salary, and we hoping that this could be solved.
Now, Mr. Hossain, what is the reason for you all not being paid? What is the reason that they're giving you?
Okay, the reason, well, Presbyterian board saying that the Ministry of Education has released no funds as yet. When we call Ministry of Education, they say they neither receive no funds from Ministry of Finance. Our president had talked to the Minister of Education, and he waited on his answer at this moment. So it's a very critical position we're in right now. And I think this is the most serious thing we have to deal with, the salary. Yes, we have issues with principal attitude, as Mr. Bihari was saying. Now, some school, not all, but some school, the principals are very abusive to the cleaners. Even the Presbyterian board secretaries, that when you call to find out about your own salary, they are very abusive. They just tell you nothing yet and they hang up the phone. They don't give you an explanation. They don't tell you nothing. And I find as a Presbyterian institute, they should have a little more dignity, a little more way in treating, because we are all a Presbyterian. We all are from one church. So why it is we being treated like that? Not because we are cleaners. So I think this is something that I'm glad that we are in this radio station, so that people can know exactly what's really going on. Because so far as it is, I don't think people just look at the Presbyterian schools and Presbyterian church and say, okay, is something going good, but they don't really know what was really going on. And I very appreciative of this opportunity, so that at least people's eyes and ears will be open. All right, because this is something it has to deal with. Not all the principals are thing, but you have some principals, they're very abusive to the cleaners. And about the equipment. Now, what happens is that you have lawn to cut, you have well places to clean, but they're not giving you nothing to utilize. They're not giving you nothing to use to cut it. Sometimes some cleaners, they go to well, not my school, but some cleaners, because I am being the chairman, I've been told this. Sometimes they go to the principal and ask for detergents to clean, and they give them a chubby bottle. Ministry of Education don't give nobody a chubby bottle. You know, so it's something that these things have to dealt with. All right, so.
But my question to you, Mr. Hussain, is this: isn't it illegal not to pay staff? Aren't you working continuously?
Yes, yes.
But isn't it illegal to not pay staff who are working?
This is what you have full knowledge about.
What happened is that it was a system like every 4 months the government release grant to the schools. Now, as far as I understand, the government and the boards, no, not board, but boards, they have different boards like Hindu, the Muslim board, the Catholic board. They have an agreement with the Ministry of Education that they could use their funds and pay the workers, and when the funds will come and they reimburse. Now, some of the boards could do it, but for some reason, the Presbyterian board used to do it. And because this new executive board coming, they took a decision not to do it. So this is where you call, very abuseful, because they took that decision. Because in the past, we used to be getting our salary, and they used to reimburse themselves back. When the Ministry of Education released the funds, they put it back in the coffers. They use their money and they pay. But this new board took a decision not to do that. So I, in a way that it's kind of, I will say, abuseful, because they could do it.
Have you all been to the press as yet?
Well, today we was at the rooftop at the PSA office, head office, and yes, we did. The president did had an interview with the press.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So something did happen today.
Okay,
right?
That's good to know, because sometimes one could have many conversations and still nothing gets done. I mean, it's been you said 2 months?
Yes, 2 months.
You have not received your pay.
And they say we wouldn't get it until September.
Till September. So what do you do in the meantime? All this time, everybody has bills, rents, mortgages,
grocery. Now with
Correct.
grocery, we have kids who need to buy books.
Families, exactly.
And things like that, especially those who go into children who are now leaving the primary school to go to the secondary school. You have those who are going to the standard 5 who need extra lessons, who need extra books and things like that, where the teachers tell you how they need to get these extra books. It is very hard. It is.
Well, we heard from Mr. Melvin Hussain. Thank you very much for sharing, and we're now hearing the voice of Carol Ponwasi. So Carol, go ahead and share some of what you're most distressed about in the situation.
One of the things is that I've been working there for 9 years, and when you need a time off to go to the bank, to do your business, or any of the business places or offices that opens until Monday to Friday, it's an issue for the principal to give you the time off previously.
What are your working hours?
It's 7 hours per day. It works on a shift basis in some schools. Some schools have a standard. It works out between the principal and yourself, the hours that's suited for you.
And what are your hours personally?
I am from 7:30 until work to my 7 hours, which is about 3, and then I am off. So therefore, you wouldn't get business places open because the time you travel or come down the road to go to the bank or anything like that, it's only on a Friday. And
the
that
longer
is
hours,
longer.
hours.
Yes, it is. Now it's only about a year or year and a half, but through the union, we were able to get 7 days casual and 7 days sick leave, and even
through the PSA union.
Through the PSA.
And when was that granted? When
in 2011 January, I think it was officially the.
So prior to that, you didn't have that?
No, we didn't have that. No. So when you need any principal, when you come back, and if you go in the bank, sometimes you stay a short period of time. Sometimes you stay a long period of time.
The lines, huh?
Yes.
Some of the lines.
Right, because not all the time you can go through the fast service. Sometimes you need to go in the bank to do your business. And you stay a long period of time. When you are back, why did you stay so long? And what were you doing so long? These are the things that are being asked. And they're not interested in that, the lines were long, or what had happened. If you need to make a few errands, like if you need to go to the insurance board or you need to pass anything, they don't open on weekends, right? And when you come back, they're not too nice to you. They're not. And even as in 2011 as January, and it is official that the Presbyterian board sent a note that the cleaners are entitled to their 7 days sick leave and 7 days casual. There are still principal denies their cleaners time off to go. Hey, I need a day off. And if they take the day off and they sign for it, or come back and they acknowledge on their regularity and punctuality sheets, they're angry with them. They're angry with them the next day. Why did you stay home? And you cannot come in. If you stay home for the day to do your business, you cannot come in the evening time and finish what it is you have to do for the next day in school. But if I am entitled for my day, yes, but you need to get the work done. Nobody else is not going to do what it is you have to do. So if I ask, and that is things that's going on, and some principals are very mean. Just because they have the power to be so, they are so. Not all principals are like that. You have the selected few. But when you voice your opinion, and then again, it have the principals who come in according to their mood. If they're in a good mood, all well and good. And if they're in a rowdy mood, apparently you're the punching bag. Because they can't go and argue with a teacher. Because the teacher will automatically go to their rep.
Right.
Right? So what is happening right now is that you have to educate some of the cleaners, because they are still intimidated by their principal. They don't want to be seen talking to a union rep. They are scared, and they are looking around. If you go to visit their school, they are looking around to see if the principal is watching them. Sometimes the principal will be telling them that, why do you want to speak to the cleaners? You have all this still going on.
Well, I have a question for you. Carol, how long has this been going on? You said have you been with this particular school for 9 years?
For 9 years. It changed. Now, the principal don't necessarily remain there for a length of time. Some do. Sometimes they get promoted. Sometimes they go to a different school. Depends on the principal, right? I have been with one principal and 2 acting principals. And so far, I've been treated fair. But I stand up for my rights, and I let them know that this is my right. You cannot be pushing me around. But I have other cleaners who are friends in different schools who tell me that how they have a terrible principal, and some of the things they are going through, and what is happening. Sometimes when they go to sit down and eat, and a teacher wants something done, some child spill or anything like that, they have to leave their lunch. They don't have a fixed lunch time, and they will come and they have to clean up, because if they don't, the teacher is very angry and going to report it to the principal. It have that.
So this type of treatment that has been ongoing, how long has it been happening?
Long before I started to work. It is a continuous thing. It have some of the cleaners are so afraid that they would not come out and say anything negative about their working conditions. They have that mentality that to remain in this in a dungeon days where you're still there indentured. You're not thinking about moving forward, that you could stand up and speak for yourself.
What is it they're afraid of?
The principal being, because before they had a lot of problems where the principal would threaten them, I will report you to the board and you will going to lose your job, or I'm going to suspend you, and hold that over their heads.
Threats.
Right? So when you try to explain, you don't have to be afraid anymore. That this fear has been installed in them for so long that it's difficult for them to change, to accept it. They are still intimidated by the principal or the board, or it could be the senior teacher. Sometimes it's not necessarily the principal, but it could be the senior teacher who is being there. Because some of the principal is not there, the senior teacher or the vice principal takes up the responsibility.
So how long have you all been members of the PSA union?
Since we started in approximately 2 years ago. That is when we realized that this is enough, a selective few. We started to broaden to different schools and things like that, and we started to, it's still an ongoing process, like I said.
So since you all have been members, you all are more aware now of your rights.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. So you know what you can and cannot expect to receive.
Yes.
From certain individuals. So for the 2 years that you all have been members, union members of the PSA union, what progress has there been?
Well, we got our, like I said, we got our 7 days sick leave and 7 days casual. We have been educating, so we have a lot more members now than we started off with, and we also educate them. Some of them are aware of the situation, but they are still intimidated. So they will give us support, but not in every other way, but not to be seen.
Yes.
Right? So we are making progress. We are the Presbyterian board do not deduct our membership fee from our salary and send it to the PSA. We had to go individually over the counter. So we're trying to sort out that. It's a lot of paperwork we know have to take place. So it's a matter of time before everything falls in line.
And so what methods do you use as a group to address various issues?
All right, what we do right now is that we try going around to schools and talking to the cleaners, because why? As she said before, the cleaners are afraid because they're afraid to lose their job. Remember, they are some of the majority are the only breadwinner in the house. So they're afraid. They got this mentality from before, because most of the cleaners are old cleaners working a various amount of years. And they had this mentality of them that if they join the union, they'll lose their job. Although we keep them that they are right. They have rights. And one of the rights are to join, freedom to join a union, whatever the union. And although some of them do that, and they go to the school, they still have this fright. When you look at their face, they're watching to see where the principal is. So we had to empower them. That's the first thing we had to do, empower them in that they had the rights, and it's no longer a system where you're afraid the principal or you're afraid the senior teacher, or you are right. Just as how the teacher have their union and they had the rights, we have it too. So it's a little hard to bring it in them because of the length of time. And as somebody go to, I personally visit all these, well, most of the schools, and some of them is talking a kind of way like, they're afraid. And they were like to meet outside and all these things. A principal at a school, I wouldn't want to call the name of the school now, but a principal, I went to talk to the cleaner, and she asked me what I want to tell the cleaner. I say, it's none of your business. I come and talk to the cleaner concerning the cleaners, the issue. She said, well, you have to tell me to tell him. I said, I don't have to do that.
See, so you know your rights.
Yes, I don't have to do that. I don't have to tell you what I have. I have come here, I identify myself, Melvin Hussein. I am a PSA representative, and I came here to talk to the two cleaners. And she was very upset with me. But I get to talk to the two
cleaners. So you're the section representative?
Yeah, yes. I am section representative.
Okay.
Most of the, well, if I come all the time, I will be visiting in school when I have a problem. Sometimes the principal will be so generous with one of the cleaner that puts so much pressure on the other cleaners. Now, maybe I'm not saying, but could be because that cleaner do something special for the principal or what, and they put pressure on the other cleaners to get them more work mode. So when I go to the school now, and I ask questions to try to be very abusive to me, and then I start because I know my rights.
Yes.
So before we had accept the PSC as our representative, we didn't have the rights. We were frightened to talk. But now I know what is my rights. So I go and I identify myself first, and then I go to the principal. When I walk into the school, I always walk with two hats. PSA is one side, and I'm also the executive of the cleaners fellowship too. So we work with two caps on my head. So every time I go to a school, I address myself. Sometimes I just try to solve it. Make it an indoor problem, and let's solve it right away with the principal. Sometimes the principal like to be abusive. I do the same. If you talk to nice with me, we solve the problem. I agree with that. All right. So we have started this thing 2 years now. We reach a good way. I wouldn't say we slow it. We reach a very good way. But the sick leave and the occasional leave that my sister here talking about is a system that we bring in on our own, but in a very near future, our the General Secretary, Mr. Nixon Calendar of the PSA, they will bring in a different way in this, because what we did is that the Presbyterian board said they have no money to pay for additional cleaners to do to hold on for the sick leave or the occasional leave. So what we do is that the next two person who in school hold on for that person, and yet it still has some principle that be abusive. They need that person to come back. But if that day is yours, that day is yours. You don't have to come back. This is your day. This is what the board gives you. The Presbyterian board come to that decision, because before we used to have you couldn't leave unless somebody died. If your parent die or somebody died, then you get a day off. Other than that, you couldn't get. I'm talking about, because one person called me and she told me, say, Mr. Melvin, I want to thank you very much. 30 years now I working in the Presbyterian school, and never achieved this what you do. All the time is only if somebody die in my family, then I get a half day off. I have to come back, and only then that you all bring in this system. I could feel proud to walk down the street and take a occasional leave to do my business. So we reach a very good way with the PSA. I must say, we thank the PSA for this, because we reach a very, very good way. Check 30 years from now, and they didn't get no time off, and now you can afford to get some days. All right, so that is something good, and I'm grateful for the PSA, and I know with the PSA we will be going somewhere.
Yes.
All right.
Now, how did you hear about the PSA initially?
Well, actually, it was I think it's Karyn. She'll give that. She'll answer that, because she's the person. Okay. Because what happened is that we had how we started with this. We had a meeting with the moderator in Princeton, and when we started to voice our concern, and the main thing had shocked the moderator was with me, with my concern, because my brother was he had a appendix burst, and it was a critical condition in the hospital, not the medical associate. And I asked my principal for time off, because we had to go and sign for the get operation. I was refused. So you cannot go, you have to do your job. I said, well, I am not the Minister of Education. I'm not a teacher. I'm a cleaner, I could go. She said, no, you cannot leave. You have to stay. And I had to stay until that time. My time off, then to go in the medical associate to assist my brother. And it's when the moderator heard that part, that he said, okay, well, we're going to form an executive committee, and this is how we start up. And then everybody started looking to see if we get a union. And Carol did bring in the first person with the PSA, and that's how we start up with the PSA. And since we started with the PSA, well, thank God, we're on the right track.
Wow. Well, that was very, very well articulated, Mr. Hussain. Thank you so much for sharing that information with us.
Okay, thank you very much.
And up next, we're going to speak with. Did you want to share anything, Carol? No? Up next, we've got Mr. Kenneth Ramai. If you can tell us a little bit about one or more of the issues within the organization that you're here to speak about today.
Before I go, I want to add to what Melvin was saying with respect to salaries, and the problems that we face with it. I am employed at the school for 20 years, and this issue is a burning issue that started when I was employed in 1992.
Really?
Yeah.
So this has been ongoing, the
Yeah.
issues with,
When
with the pay as
my
well?
first salary I received was 3 months after I got employed. And only because I wrote the then Minister of Education, Mr. Augustus Ramika Singh. When I wrote him, I told him, I said, we haven't been paid for 3 months. And he called, well, he had the PS at the ministry call the board and they started to investigate. And then we were paid. 3 consecutive months we didn't get paid when I started to work in 1992. I decided, well, I can't take it anymore and write the minister. I did that. And after that, things started to happen. We started to get paid kind of regularly. And then what happens is that the boards are changed every 2 years. The primary school board, they have their elections and they have new officers every 2 years. So that is an issue that is ongoing, because when the boards change, the people who are appointed on the boards, there is no continuity. Yeah? What the previous board did, the one that comes in, they don't care about that.
They just do their own thing.
Yeah. So that issue will always be ongoing. Because I remember in 1998 we had a meeting with the General Secretary, Brian Atai, and he threatened the cleaners at the meeting and told them, he said, I will fire all of you. So I told him, I say,
Did he really have the power to do that?
No, he don't have the power, because you are only on the board for 2 years.
So now that you know your rights, you know that is hot air, so to say.
That issue will always keep coming up again, because once you don't have continuity in the boards, we will always have problems. But since we have the union representatives now, we have a little more say, and we know our rights. I am employed 20 years now, and to date, we don't have a job spec that could tell us we are supposed to do X, Y, or Z. We don't have a floor space area that we have to work with. Yesterday, you're working, this part of the building is yours, that part of the building is yours. But there's nothing in black and white to say, well, okay, you have to clean as a cleaner, 5,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet. We don't have that in writing.
Just anything goes.
Yeah. Because as far as I understand, the cleaner is supposed to clean the building and the immediate area around the building, meaning the apron of the building. When Mr. Bihari speaks about cutting the lawn, I think that is not the cleaner's job. You are supposed to have a groundsman to do that. But the Presbyterian board doesn't have groundsman. The cleaner has to do all that. So when you find that they tell Mr. Bihari, take a brush and cut the grass in the yard, and they go threaten him because he's the one employed in, and they say, well, in most schools where men are working, that the men are supposed to do the manly jobs like that. But we are cleaners.
Right.
Yeah? We have to identify that. And they don't want to hear anything about that. When you talk about that, they say, no, you're employed here, you have to do everything they tell you to do. And that sort of badgering that has been going on for years. And at the 1998 meeting with the General Secretary, Brian Atai, most of the cleaners were of the impression that the Presbyterian Church was paying the cleaners.
Was?
That they were paying the cleaners. The cleaners were not aware that the money came from the Ministry of Education. Yeah, so they held that over the cleaners' head for years.
Wow.
Yeah. That is something that they held.
It's so inhumane what you're telling me. It's really challenging for me to wrap my brain around.
Always fooling the cleaners, because most of the cleaners are uneducated to a certain level. They in one level, some of them in one level, not like well educated, and it's just a small level.
Well, they're definitely not educated in terms of their rights. Yeah. Until now, you guys can inform them.
Because what happened is that the problem we are facing, as you asked the gentleman, is what really is going on with the Presbyterian board. They elect principal, resign principal. So you are constantly seeing the same problem. Because remember, it was the principal who was giving you trouble when they were a principal. Now they are going in the Presbyterian board as executive members. So how could you solve a problem?
Right.
We need somebody from
fresh blood.
Our section to be in that. You understand?
And how do you go about doing that? How could
Well,
you make that possible?
I did speak to the General Secretary about it, and I think in the very near future he's going to keep he going to ask the executive for a meeting, because the job spec we have is so outdated that they have brushing contracts to cut the lawn, and have lawn like I'm going to tell you about almost a lot.
Like a savannah.
A savannah.
Right, a lot.
Yes.
And you give a personal and to show you how. So this gentleman, the gentleman here said that the cleaners, some of the cleaners are uneducated extension. But to me, some of the Presbyterian, the executive Presbyterian board, uneducated. Because how could you
But
tell
clearly
a person?
they're not aware. Do you think that they're unaware of their rights and that's why they do what they do, or that they're aware of their rights
They are aware
and
of
in
their
hopes that
rights.
you all are not, so that they can do what they
See
want to
what
do?
happens them, they have this mentality, as I say, as when they was principal, putting down this pressure on you. So when they go up to be a higher position, because I had a meeting with them, well, the executive had a meeting with them, and one of the principal told me, well, the money again now I used to get at when I was a principal in 19 something. I said, well, the groceries are making 19 something, and grocery making is a fat difference.
Correct.
So she said, no, all they getting too much money. But look at the difference. You cannot go now with a grocery with $100 and get anything. So the mentality is still in them, that they overpower us. So what they're supposed to do in the first place is get fresh people, good people that will start on the both sides. Understand? So I did speak to the General Secretary, Mr. Nixon Karyn, and asked him, and hopefully we will have a meeting with the Presbyterian Board Executive as early as possible, and we want to try and solve that. We want to try, one of the things we want to do is the job spec, redo the job spec, and let the cleaners know their right and what they have to do and what they're not supposed to do.
That's right.
Secondly, is that some of the cleaners do have a place to sit down to eat their food in some schools.
Do not.
Do not. I did bring it up in the executive meeting with the executive of the Presbyterian board. They told me that to find out from the cleaners that if the school have a room that's not vacant, they could use it. I did it in a couple of schools, and what happened is that the principal went and find something to put there just to get them out of it. This gentleman here does eat under a tank. It's still in?
Yeah.
Under a tank. And did he try to block it up or something?
Yeah, block it up.
And because the principal do very abusive to the person, they block up around the tank. So I don't know where he has his breakfast now.
He say anytime he passes, we must stand up.
Yeah,
we don't want to see we sit down at all.
But this is inhumane. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
the
modern day
principal-
slavery. It's what
the
it is.
principal of Bamboo Presbyterian School, I could say it because I've been there, I talked to him, and he was very abusive to me. And he told the gentleman that once you see principal passing, he must be doing something. I find that is, if you don't
No changing room, no eating space, and if you need to go in the shop, you go and tell a teacher, or he tell his security and them. Anytime you walk out of the compound, make sure and sign. Just to go in the shop, you have to come out to go in a vehicle and go somewhere for a half an hour or 1 hour. If you go in the shop, write it.
Wow.
Everything is right.
It's really, really inhumane. I mean, I really cannot even. I know what you're saying is true.
Melvin, one I
But it
think we
doesn't
would
even
like to
sound
address
as-
said over the air, it will be nice that talking about when somebody working in the school as a part-time cleaner for over 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, or 7 years, and looking forward for when they need a full-time cleaner, that they will be appointed. They come and just take somebody in front of them. We never walk in the school compound, knows nothing about the job, give them the first preference, and this person will work 5 years, so long as part-time, thinking one day to come they will get a full-time work. Is no acknowledge about it at all. They just leave them down and take somebody in place because they know the person or favor the person. Now, when you could address that a little better.
Well,
than
I
me.
think you just heard the voice of Mr. Rudolph Bihari sharing some of that. But before we go on, I would just like to introduce everybody to my colleague, Dr. Mike. He's on the air from 1 until 7 p.m. and we're literally on his shift now, on his time.
Okay.
As I came in at 7 this morning, 7 till 1. So the interview started at 12:15 and it's ongoing. I know you asked, oh, we won't be here that long, but this is generally what happens. The interview generally goes for an hour and a half or 2 hours in length. So my colleague is going to take over at this point and continue the interview with all of you. And actually, we're going to take a short break and then come back and we'll continue the conversation. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So you all can remain seated, or during the break you can do whatever you need to do, but we'll just go ahead and take a short break right now for a short commercial break, and then we will resume.